Hello, Governor Ivy. This is Anthony Boyd, the guy that you have scheduled an execution for October the 23rd and the 24th of 2025. I'm asking, extending, offering, giving you an invitation to please come sit down and talk to me before this execution is carried out. Before an innocent man is executed, come sit down with me and have a conversation with the guy that you deem one of the worst of the worst. Please, come talk to me, learn about me, get an understanding of me. Know the guy that's innocent on Alabama's death row, charged with a crime that he had absolutely nothing to do with.
DC the Voice, Alabama Prisoner Profiles. What's going on with y'all, man? Today we're going to be diving into the crimes and executions this past couple weeks of Mr. Anthony Boyd, man. Let's hop right into that, man. Shout out to Ann for continued donations to the platform, man. Here we go. The facts of Mr. Boyd's case straight from the appeal are as follows. On July 31st, 1993, Anthony Boyd, along with Sean Ingram and Marcel Ackles, were looking for Gregory Hughley, aka New York, because Gregory Hughley had gotten cocaine from them several days before and he had failed to pay up. The charge for the cocaine was $200. These men later were joined by Quinte Cox, who provided a 9mm Mac 11 automatic pistol. These men continued their search for Gregory Hughley. In the early evening of July 31st, 1993, they spotted him on 15th Street in Anniston, Alabama. At this time, they were riding in a blue van that Marcel Ackles had rented. The van approached New York and then stopped. Sean Ingram took the Mac 11 automatic pistol and walked over to him and told him to come here. New York hesitated, and then Sean grabbed New York and pushed him into the van and onto the floor by the first bench seat. After leaving the scene of the abduction, Quinte Cox was let out at Cooper Homes and was instructed to follow the others. The first stop of the defendant and the participants was at a gas station where Marcel Ackles got out and purchased gasoline in a plastic container. Then, all the participants, including the defendant and the victim, proceeded to a baseball field in the Munford community in Talladega County, Alabama. During this trip, Hughley was made to lie down on the floorboard of the van by defendant and co-defendant Sean Ingram. He kept saying to his abductors, "Do not unalive me, I will get your money." When the participants arrived at the baseball field between 7 and 8 p.m., Sean Ingram made New York lie down on a bench. Then Marcel Ackles taped New York hands and mouth, and the defendant Anthony Boyd taped his feet, all with duct tape. New York was taped to the bench. At this time, Sean Ingram doused gasoline on New York. Then he made a 2-foot trail of gasoline from the bench where New York was lying. He then lit the trail of gasoline which led to New York and caused him to catch fire. The defendant and other participants watched New York burn for 10 to 15 minutes until the flames went out. During the burning, New York rolled over a few feet. Then at this point in time, he expired as a result of the burning. The defendant and Sean Ingram left in the van and returned to Anniston. Quinte Cox, Marcel Ackles returned to Anniston in Quinte's car. On the way back to Anniston, Marcel said to Quinte, "We're all in this together. If one goes down, we all go down." They arrived back in Anniston around 7:45 to 8 p.m. Appeals and execution. The state of Alabama executed Anthony Todd Boyd on Thursday night for the 1993 unaliving of Gregory Hughley, carrying out the state's 7th nitrogen gas execution despite Boyd's long-standing claims of innocence and legal challenges arguing that the method is unconstitutional. Boyd was pronounced dead at 6:33 p.m. at William C. Holman Correctional Facility in Atmore, where Alabama's death row and the only execution chamber are housed. The execution marked the fifth carried out in the state this year and the second in which an Alabama inmate publicly maintained innocence until the end. Governor Co.AgMusic confirmed the execution just after 6:30 p.m., stating she had denied Boyd's request for clemency earlier in the day. Quote, "On the evening of July 31st, 1993, Anthony Boyd and three other men kidnapped Gregory Hewley at gunpoint in Anniston over a $200 drug debt," said Ivy. Quote, "After 30 years on death row, Anthony Boyd's sentence has been carried out, and his victim's family has finally recovered justice." Boyd was convicted of capital murder in '95 for his role in the burning death of 34-year-old Hughley, who prosecutors said was bound to a park bench doused with gasoline and set on fire in Munford. Co-defendant Quinte Cox testified against Boyd in exchange for a life sentence with parole. I think he's been released already, y'all. The two other men, Robert Chard Ingram and Monique Marcel Ackles, both still locked up, were sentenced to death and life without paroles, respectively. Boyd continued to assert his innocence over the years, claiming that false testimony and unreliable evidence led to his conviction. In an audio message recorded earlier this week, he pleaded with Governor Ivy to meet with him before execution. Quote, "Before an innocent man is executed, come sit down with me and have a conversation with the man you deem one of the worst of the worst," unquote, said Boyd. Quote, "Show the people of this state that you are not just carrying out sentences and hiding your hands," unquote. The United States Supreme Court denied Boyd's request for stay of execution Thursday afternoon, with Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Kajani Brown Jackson dissenting. Sotomayor wrote that Boyd, quote, "will remain conscious for 2 to 4 minutes while the state of Alabama unalives him in this way," calling the nitrogen method torturous and experimental. She argued Alabama's nitrogen hypoxia protocol violates the 8th Amendment ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Quote, "Boyd asked for the barest form of mercy, to die by firing squad, which would kill him in seconds, rather than a torturous suffocation lasting up to 4 minutes. The Constitution would grant him that grace. My colleagues do not," the dissent reads. Alabama has maintained that any shaking or gasping exhibited by inmates during nitrogen gas executions is largely involuntary actions caused by oxygen deprivation. Nationally, the method has now been used in 8 executions, 7 times in Alabama and once in Louisiana. Quote, It is my solemn duty as governor to carry out Alabama law. Tonight, justice has been served for the horrific burning alive murder of Gregory Hewley," said Ivy. Boyd's last words centered around his claims of innocence. The curtain to the execution chamber opened at 5:50 p.m. for the scheduled 6 p.m. execution. Boyd appeared to smile towards the witness room, which housed 4 of his witnesses, including his brother, 5 members of the media. He offered a thumbs up to the room and made another sign with his hand. When asked if he had any last words, Boyd said, quote, "I didn't kill anybody. I didn't participate in killing anybody," unquote. He continued talking about how the court system isn't fair. Quote, "There's no justice in this state," unquote. He said, quote, "It's all political. It's revenge motivated," unquote. Boyd said, quote, "It's not about closure because closure comes from within, not an execution," unquote. That was deep. He ended his final statement, quote, "Keep fighting. I love every single one of y'all. Let's get it," unquote. After he spoke his final words, an officer checked the seal of the blue gas mask. Boyd's spiritual advisor, Reverend Jeff Hood, stood in the corner of the room near Boyd's feet and made the sign of a cross. At 5:55 p.m., Hood approached the gurney. He spoke to Boyd briefly, grabbed his hand, and appeared to bless the inmate. He opened his Bible and appeared to read from it. No audio could be heard from the media witness room. While Hood stood at Boyd's side, part of the view of the media witness room was blocked. Boyd appeared to lift his head off the gurney at 5:57 p.m. and shook. He began breathing deeply, and both legs raised off the gurney several inches at 5:58 p.m. At 5:59 p.m., Boyd appeared to close his eyes. Hood continued to make the sign of the cross repeatedly throughout the execution. At 6:01 p.m., Boyd began heaving. The heaving appeared to turn to gasping and agonal breathing. Boyd's brother, seated in the witness room with members of the media, sighed deeply. Quote, "It's like he's gasping for air," unquote, he murmured in the silent room. The heaving tight breaths continued until approximately 6:16 p.m. There were no visible breaths after that. Damn, that's over, 15 minutes? The curtain to the viewing rooms closed at 6:27 p.m. Boyd's official time of death was 6:33 p.m. No relatives of Hughley witnessed the execution. Prison officials said they didn't provide a statement either. Hood, Boyd's spiritual advisor, spoke with reporters on a phone call after the execution. He said that a correctional officer had told him to stand close to Boyd, which resulted in blocking the media's view. Quote, "It really bothers me that I felt like I was used to block y'all's view at the very beginning, and it was very clear there was no reason for me to be up there," unquote, Hood said during the call. John Hamm, the commissioner of the Alabama Department of Corrections, denied Hood's allegation. Hood also held a press conference outside a hotel close to the prison where he detailed his account of the execution and described meeting with Boyd's emotional family earlier in the day. Hamm, the prison commissioner, also spoke to the media. During his press conference after the execution, Hamm said that gas flowed 5 minutes past Boyd's flatline, which is standard in the state's protocol. He didn't have the exact time of how many minutes the gas was flowing, but he believed it was the longest execution the state has conducted using nitrogen. Quote, "It was just a few minutes past some of the others. The times have varied on the others as well," unquote, said the commissioner. Hamm said he didn't know why Boyd's heavy breathing lasted longer than other men who have died using the method. Quote, "A lot of this stuff has been litigated here recently," unquote, he said. Quote, "It's not a medical procedure, so I don't have an explanation for that," unquote. Hamm said Boyd's flatline occurred 5 minutes before the curtain closed. He reiterated that he believed the inmate's gasping was involuntary, but he didn't medically know what his movements were. How the fuck is gasping for air involuntary, gang? You know what I'm saying? How is that you know what I'm saying? Hood took a different approach, saying that Boyd was conscious for around 16 minutes. Hood said Boyd held his breath briefly when Hood approached the gurney, but then Boyd took measured breaths. Hood said the state was, quote, "absolutely incompetent when it comes to carrying out these executions," unquote. In the phone call, Hood added that he didn't think the nitrogen gas was on, the mask was on correctly. Final hours. Earlier in the evening, a prison spokesperson gave details of Boyd's last day. On Thursday, he visited 2 of his daughters, 3 friends, and his mother, his brother, his son-in-law, and his spiritual advisor. He talked on the phone with his friends and brother. He accepted his breakfast tray on Thursday, but refused his lunch and dinner. He did not request a final meal. On Wednesday, Boyd was visited by his daughter, brother, and friend. He spoke on the phone with 2 friends, his brother, and his spiritual advisor. He was seen eating a cheeseburger, a Reese's cup, popcorn, Skittles, Starburst, and barbecue Fritos, twisted corn chips. He was seen drinking a strawberry Sunkiss, Dole lemonade, water, orange V8 splash, and coffee. He ate his breakfast and lunch meals, but declined his dinner.
Talk to me. Is feeling in a sense that I'm being deceptive in any way? By all means, carry out your sentence. But if not, do the right thing. Stop this execution. So I ask you, as the leader of this state, before there's another horrible botched execution, an innocent person executed in this country, ask you, I appeal to you to come sit down and talk with me. I am right now offering, extending an invitation to you to please come sit down with me, talk to me, so you at least will know one person that has been executed with this method. And then I ask you, would you want somebody that you love and care about to be executed with this method? I'm offering this and asking this of you because you're the leader of this state. I ask you to come sit down and talk to me, learn me, get to know me. And if at any time during the conversation you feel that I'm being deceptive or invasive, then please carry out the sentence. But if not, then I ask you to stay this execution, to stop this execution, to have my case fully and thoroughly investigated. I've never been given a fair shot in court. None of my issues have been heard on the merits. Show the people of this state that you are not just carrying out sentences and hiding your hands. We had an opportunity to sign up for this nitrogen gas, and it wasn't a protocol in place. So the state made a deal with us that we had 2 years to challenge this method once a protocol was put in place. Now, the state is in court arguing that I waited too long. I'm pleading with you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your effort, your understanding, and I thank you for being a good Christian in this good Christian state. I hope to see you soon.
And there y'all have it, man. First of all, I want to say condolences, right, to the victims in this case, Mr. Hughley, his family and friends. You know, $200, come on, man. Y'all could have just beat dude, you know what I'm saying? Or just drove him out there, poured gas on him, and left him out there tied up, you know what I'm saying? That would scare $200 out of most people, you know, I figure, you know. Now y'all out $200 and your lives. The plea to Governor Meemaw, look, man. Listen, man, the plea to look her in the eye was interesting, but anyone could have told you that was going to fall on deaf ears, man. But I do appreciate the effort, you know what I'm saying? Now, as far as them using the Rev to block the immediate view of the execution, probably in the department's best interest, man, and the state as well. This is a new method of execution. They're trying to still sell that this is humane, you know? Complications seem to occur often and every damn time. I think it's wild they keep letting Rev witness these executions when he's coming out after each one telling the public how fucked up it is, you know what I'm saying? And how each condemned man convulsed, foamed at the mouth, how medical procedures in place don't look like they're being adhered to. You know, like dude's mask, for instance, not being on correctly, and maybe the nitrogen was leaking out, and that's why he wasn't getting the full effect, and maybe was able to fight for his life for much longer than previously executed prisoners using this method, man. That explains why they let the gas continue to run minutes after a dude's already gone, man. Shout out to Reverend Hood. Lastly, I want to say there's something to be said for an inmate that refuses to accept responsibility and abdicate their innocence to the absolute end, man. To go out lying to the world when you meet your maker is wild, and it makes you question whether or not bro is lying, right? We will never know, but there y'all go, man. States engaged yet again in the systematic taking of human life. I don't agree. Let them rot, or, you know, let them out after 40, 50 years when they're most likely no longer a threat to society, respectfully. Craziness. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section, man. Still busy with the selfless journey of fatherhood. My child just turned 6 months. A couple weeks ago, we did a little cupcake thing for her. It was cute as hell, but my anxiety was up because I was worried about her choking on the sprinkles on the cupcake, you know what I'm saying? But she smashed it, you know? So she cute as hell. We got to restrain her when we eat now because she's squirming up to my plate and just taking shit, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, try not to filibuster about the woes of parenthood all the time now. But anyways, y'all like, sub, share, donate to the MF platform if you're a real supporter of what we're doing. DC The Voice, Alabama Prisoner Profiles.